Hey guys, my name is TheRussianBadger and welcome to a second video in less than 24 hours. I know it's quite odd that I would do this, but it's fairly critical information and you might be saying, oh, a second video within less than 24 hours, this is madness. Well, this is not madness, this is just Port Valdez, or as I like to call it, the danger zone. I don't think a lot of you realize why I call it the danger zone, and it's in close association with the song by Kenny Loggins. I don't know if you guys ever heard the best song ever. Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins is Danger Zone. It's the best song you will probably ever hear ever. But welcome to the Danger Zone if I want to say it that way. But I do realize that I'm still sick. For my last video, a lot of you sent me messages like you sick, bro, and why so serial? Because my last video was a little bit serious. I was a little bit sick, I was a little bit tired. I still sound like Squidward, obviously, but I wanted to upload this video because this information is fairly important and fairly critical to me specifically. Because obviously, you guys know that I play on the Pony Slay Station, if you'd like to call it that, also known as the PS3. And this specific patch that I'm going to be talking about, or this update if you want to call it that, is going to occur between GMT 001 and GMT 001 on the 24th and 25th. So what that means specifically, and I'll leave a link to those specific times in the whole blog post by Dice in the description of this video, but what that means for me specifically is that obviously I'm on PS3, but between 5 p.m. this evening and 5 p.m. tomorrow evening, there's going to be a patch update that's going to make a lot of modifications to the game. So it's going to be some time within that span of 24 hours when this patch is going to occur, and you guys might also notice some temporary outages and a little bit of lag during these server updates. But I just wanted to update you on the modifications that are being made specifically, aka the details of the patch, and there are some absolute doozies if you ask me. And what I mean by doozy is the first one is fairly phenomenal. It's not like it's Map Pack 7 phenomenal or Battlefield Bad Company 2 Vietnam phenomenal, but the first detail of the patch is that you can now put an ACOG scope or a red dot sight on M14s and G3s. Allow me to repeat that so that can marinate in your brain so that you don't either pull your hair out, jump for joy, or punch a hole in your ceramic tile in your kitchen. I mean, allow me to repeat this. You can now put ACOGs and red dot sights on M14s and G3s. That is pretty phenomenal. I know a lot of you might be tearing your hair out, or some of you might have already jumped for joy, as I previously said, or hopefully you really didn't punch a hole in your ceramic tile in your kitchen. I hope you didn't do that. That was just a joke. But this is fairly huge, and I'm not going to make any assumptions or declarations about overpowered or how much I hate those weapons, because I don't hate those weapons. I'm not going to say hate, love, overpowered, underpowered, whatever you want to say. I'm not going to make any declarations until I've actually used the weapon. But I definitely think the main problem that I experienced with the M14 specifically is that I always lost my target in the abyss of my iron sights. They were so protruding and so obstructing that I always lost my target after the first shot. It would just go everywhere. And similar thing happened to me with the G3. But it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. And specifically, my first gameplay once this patch is implemented is either going to be with the M14 or the G3. So please inform me, should my first gameplay after the patch be with the G3 or an M14? And would you guys like to see a red dot scope or an ACOG scope? So please leave that in the comments. I really want your feedback as to which weapon I should use after the patch is implemented, either the M14 or the G3, either with the red dot sight of the ACOG scope. So please inform me of that. And moving on to the more critical ones, they fixed a bug on the PC where the G3 would do less damage than intended. That's not a huge deal on PS3, but the third item on the list is they reduced VADS, pushback, and damage to balance it with the ZU-23. Now this doesn't have a whole lot of play into my specific style, because obviously I only play Rush, and the only time that I experience the VADS is on Atacama Desert, and it's really not that prominent in my whole playstyle or my whole experience with Bad Company 2, so I don't have a real good insight as to how this is going to affect gameplay as far as VADS goes, because a lot of Conquest players could comment on that a lot better than I could. And the fourth one is they fixed a bug where vehicle countermeasures would fail to remove tracer darts at high speed. You know where you deploy that deterrence of smoke? It was something where if vehicles were going fast enough, the smoke wouldn't work, like it wouldn't remove the tracer dart, but they fixed that. And the fifth one, and this is actually quite huge if you think about it, for all you tracer dart users out there, this is pretty huge. They reduced the reload time for vehicle countermeasures. So whether or not that affects you guys that like to shoot down Blackhawks with tracer darts and rocket launchers, meaning that you might be able to deploy smoke a little bit quicker, that might have some play into whether or not this patch infuriates you or not. But there was a reduce in the reload time for vehicle countermeasures, and that also includes, I mean, some of the other countermeasures that vehicles contain. But moving on, they slightly increased the AT-4's damage versus armor, and there was three main parts of the AT-4. Okay, as I previously mentioned, they slightly increased the AT-4's damage versus armor, and they also increased the AT-4's top speed and acceleration, and they also improved the splash damage versus infantry. So they basically boosted in every aspect that you can versus infantry, versus armor, and the flight time. And really, that's what gets you killed with the AT-4s. You have to stand out there and wait till your rocket hits the target, and oftentimes you get sniped, you get shot. And this is definitely a good buff with the AT-4, because the AT-4 is a really underused rocket launcher, because there's so many tricksters and so many catfish that only use the Carl Gustav. But that really segues really well in my next point, and that was a fail knife. Don't knife me if you can't knife me, man. Oh, that's just awful. Okay, so the next item is they reduced the splash damage of the Carl Gustav to bring it in line with other explosive weapons. Although the Carl Gustav still has the most splash damage of all the AT weapons. And thank goodness, because I am sick of all these tricksters and all these catfish to say, I'm going to put on my explosive weapon damage and I'm going to use this rocket launcher that is really a sniper rifle that blatantly it is ridiculous how the blast radius and the kill radius of a Carl Gustav with explosive weapons damage. It is abysmal. Like, I can't stand that. It's probably on par with the AN-94 catfish, and it's just, oh, it's kind of infuriating. And the next item is they increased the one-shot kill range of the M95 body shot to counter its lower rate of fire. And that's understandable. I mean, if you have a lower rate of fire, you should probably give it more distance of a one-shot kill compared to other sniper rifles, because it shouldn't have the same one-shot kill distance as like the SV98, yet it has a much lower rate of fire. That's not real balanced. And the next one is that they fixed a bug with the SVU where it had better close range damage than any other semi-automatic weapons. And then the one that I'm unsure about is they reduced all weapon damage. Oh, excuse me, this is not the one. Okay, the one that I was confused about is they fixed a C4 versus MCOM exploit in Atacama Desert. I don't know what that is, but the real major one, the huge one that we've all been waiting for, is that they reduced all weapon damage to the MCOM by 50%. Hopefully that gets rid of the crate bashers. Hopefully that gets rid of all that shooting tanks and rockets, and it just brings it back to traditional values of just arming the charge and waiting for it to explode. So basically, hopefully it gets rid of all those guys that just go rampant with the C4. And some other ones, they fixed a field of view problem when aiming the 1911. They lowered the close range damage of the AN-94. That is much needed. It's still going to be the same at longer ranges, but I really am so glad that they're elsing the AN-94, because there were so many guys that were total Carls and total catfish that really didn't have that much ability, but they could just make it out with this laser rifle of an AN-94, so I'm very pleased about that. And they're also increasing the accuracy of the F2000 to highlight its role as more of a mobile assault rifle. They also increased the close range damage of all the shotguns to make them better versus slugs, because really, the slugs were a little ridiculous because they didn't prove, it didn't seem like buckshot had any advantage at all versus slugs, and that was a little odd. And they also lowered the damage of the M60, that should get rid of more catfish. They also lowered the damage of the MG3 at close range, and that's a little bit understandable because that thing is a friggin' meat grinder. And the final part is that they increased the damage of the UH-6. So I want to thank you guys for watching. These are all the patch details. I will leave a link in the description to the official blog post by DICE. But other than that, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching, and auf Wiedersehen oder bis bald. Or just see you later. I will see you tricksters later, or catfish, or Carls, or whatever you guys are. Whatever you are, auf Wiedersehen.